Hello Danans, my name is Ian. Let's cut right to the chase this week. 2018 was a fantastic time to be a gamer. There were 5 handfuls of excellent games that came out this past year. I decided to take my top 10, put them together, make a video about it, and share it with you guys. I want you to share your favorite games of last year with me as well. We'll have a little conversation in the comments. Hope you enjoy it. Coming in at number 10 is a game that is way bigger than anyone expected it to be. Hell, it blew away its own developers at Capcom with its sales figures, becoming the best-selling Capcom game ever released. That's above every Resident Evil and Street Fighter game in history, believe it or not. I walked into Monster Hunter World without ever playing a game in the series and expecting mostly beautiful graphics and fun battles. Spoilers, that's exactly what this game is. Add a ton of characteristic charm, ridiculous replayability on your hunt for the best gear and weapon sets, and some really cool crossovers with other franchises, and you've got a hell of a package here. To be completely transparent, I only played the game for around 10 hours. I was nowhere near finishing it when I moved on to something else. But that 10 hours was enough for me to size up what the game is, know that it's excellent, but that I've got other, less grindy games I'd rather put my time into at the moment. That might sound negative, but it's not intended that way. I'd recommend Monster Hunter World to anybody on any day. Number 9, feeling fine, we're looking at a little game called Dead Cells. I went nearly blind into this game on the Nintendo Switch, having read no reviews, watched any trailers, almost nothing. The few snippets of gameplay I'd seen here and there spoke to me on a, whoa, I like this art style and this looks super fun level. There are 1.5 million Dark Souls type games on the market at this point, but Dead Cells stands tall in the crowd with its beautiful color palette, inventive powers and abilities, and sheer replayability. For just $25 you can grab this game on PS4, Xbox One, PC, Mac, or on the Switch, which is where I played it. It's also worth noting that this game probably got a great deal more attention than it would have otherwise, due to that piece of shit who plagiarized his review. That whole situation was embarrassing, but justice was served, as he was outed as a fraud, lost his job, and the person who actually wrote the review was given plenty of press. Oh, and Dead Cells has done really well in its own right. Dropping in at number 8 is Castlevania Requiem, which combines 2 fantastic titles into one fine vampire hunting package. You might argue my inclusion of Requiem, as the 2 games included, Castlevania Rondo of Blood and Castlevania Symphony of the Night, were released in 1993 and 1997 respectively, but I'm gonna say tough shit on that one. The compilation hit the PS4 in October of 2018, and damn it to hell, I had an absolute blast with it. Let me be clear on one thing. I haven't had time to even touch Rondo of Blood just yet, as I've been busting my ass making videos for this channel between working my real job and spending time with my girlfriend, but I went back and plowed through Symphony of the Night for the first time in ages. Symphony of the Night is a true classic. It's one of the greats, and hell, it's responsible for coining the term Metroidvania, having molded the original Castlevania style into a more Super Metroid-esque shape. Powering up Alucard as we cut down Dracula's minions is truly satisfying, as is learning which sub-weapons work most effectively against specific enemies. If you've never played Castlevania Symphony of the Night, honestly, do yourself a favor. Plus, this collection comes with Rondo of Blood, you can't go wrong. Number 7 has us taking a look at Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, a game which actually won Best Surprise of the Year at the fictional award show I just made up. I'll cut right to the chase. This is a straight-up Castlevania 3 tribute. While Iga and company are hard at work on the main game, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, this little gem was dropped in our laps with almost zero notice. Honestly, a trailer went out that basically said, hey, we promised an 8-bit prequel game on Kickstarter and it's done and you can have it in like 3 days. If you've played Castlevania 3 on NES, you know exactly what you're getting with Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. We've got several characters we can switch between at will, they've all got their own specific strengths and weaknesses, we're traversing a castle full of monsters and ghouls, it's all there. And at only $10, get your life together and play Bloodstained. You're not going to regret it. Alright, number 6 will step out of the Castlevania realm and into the JRPG realm with the beautiful Nintendo Switch exclusive Octopath Traveler. I believe it was somewhere in 2017. I was at work and my buddy Quinn called me over to his computer to show me a screenshot from an upcoming game called Project Octopath Traveler. The art style blew my ass in half. I've seen some beautiful sprite work and pixel art in my day, but holy hell, I had never seen anything like this. The buildings and characters looked like an NES or Super Nintendo game on steroids, but the water's ripples and snow's glittery shine looked damn near photorealistic. The contrast between the two is enough to hook me, and luckily the gameplay is excellent as well. How terrible would it have been if something so impressive graphically would handle like a pile of shit? The gameplay gods smiled on us, Dan Dans, and I can't put this game over enough. Each of the 8 character storylines are all highly entertaining, taking us through tales of loss, revenge, redemption, and more. Plus, the soundtrack is absolutely fantastic. I've turned it on for many a writing session, and I'm nowhere near tired of it. I have not seen my number 5 pop up on anyone else's year-end list, and that's a goddamn shame. OnRush is not your run-of-the-mill racing game, guys. There's no finish line, for starters. We're in a vehicle on a track, of course, but our objectives measure anywhere from wrecking the other drivers on the opposing team, speeding through precisely placed time gates to extend the clock, or staying inside a specific zone for a certain amount of time while traveling at a blistering pace and making sure that no one from the other team enters the zone. I feel like the game takes everything fun about driving crazy vehicles, zooms in on it, takes a pinch of insanity, and adds it on every new gameplay mode. Unfortunately, the game was a huge disappointment sales-wise, but don't let that deter you. OnRush is truly one of the most fun games of 2018, and I say that as somebody who doesn't give a flying rat's ass about racing games outside of Mario Kart and the amazing Burnout Paradise. Number 4 is a game I had no idea I wanted until I played it. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, and Let's Go Eevee, for that matter, as they're very similar, akin to the old days of Red and Blue, is basically a modern remake of Pokemon Yellow. Take the beloved days of the original 151, complete with the locations you know and love like Lavender Town, Celadon City, characters like Misty, Brock, and Team Rocket. Add in some new moves to throw down in battle, a catching mechanic pulled straight from the mobile phenomenon Pokemon Go, and you've got a brand new take on an old classic. I was put off when I first learned that the random encounters and battles with Pokemon were completely removed and replaced instead with seeing each and every Pokemon being shown on screen, giving us the choice of whether or not we want to get into some trouble. But I have to say, I really hope the Pokemon games continue forward in this direction. It's absolutely addicting to stand near a patch of tall grass and wait for the perfect moment when, boom, a rare Pokemon shows up. Random encounters not only get old, but they become tiresome in any game. With this new style, we've got more control, and it's a change I never knew I'd love so much. Plus, come on, the original 151? If you're like me, those are pretty much the only Pokemon you truly recognize, and god damn is this soundtrack still a banger. Spider-Man takes the number 3 slot for me, and yes, I made a conscious decision to not write Spider-Man Swings In at number 3 for this part of the script. I want to get something off my chest before I push this game to the moon. I've seen people go out of their way to say, this isn't just the Batman Arkham games, but with a Spider-Man coat of paint. I'm sorry, but that's 100% what this is. That's extremely far from being a bad thing, mind you, as the Arkham games are exceptionally good, but let's call a spade a spade. The combat system is nearly a carbon copy. Jumping around the rafters of buildings to stealthily take down enemies and hang them from the ceiling to hide their bodies is a straight pull. Unlocking new abilities and powering up existing combat and traversal gadgets and techniques is... come on, guys. I'm just being realistic. But now that we've put that behind us, don't get it twisted. Spider-Man is fucking awesome. Any Spider-Man game could easily be crippled with poor design on the web-swinging mechanics, and not only is that not an issue here, it's a highlight. Swinging around the city doesn't just feel great, it looks great. There's awesome shit to look at all over the place. The Avengers Tower, Doctor Strange's house, Uncle Ben's gravestone in the cemetery. Honestly, the city is looking good. I'm not particularly a fan of the Mary Jane stealth missions. I would have preferred they were just cutscenes, but MJ herself is an awesome character. Same deal with Miles Morales. His little gameplay chapters could have been shown to me in a video, and I'd still have appreciated his character and progression in the same way. But I'll counteract those two small negatives with engaging boss fights, excellent writing in the character development department, and a colossal amount of collectibles strewn across the city, which never feel like a chore to pick up. Spider-Man is great. God of War takes my runner-up for Game of the Year 2018, and it was a hard choice to make. After 3 mainline games, 2 side stories on the PSP, and God of War Ascension with its odd multiplayer component, the future of the series seemed uncertain. From a storyline perspective, Kratos has toppled the gods, including Zeus, and didn't exactly walk away from that final battle in the best shape. From a real-world perspective, Ascension was a bit of a low point for the series. Sales weren't extremely strong, and it didn't seem like anybody had the series on the tip of their tongue anymore. But nobody at the studio seemed to give a shit about any of that leading into this new installment. Their vision not only crafted a brand new playstyle for the series, but it reboots the franchise without erasing the past. We're in a new world. Kratos has grown as an individual. He's settled down with a wife and son, just trying to live out a normal life, trying to blend in as a god amongst men. Long story short, shit goes south real fast. We're thrust back into the thick of battle, and Kratos has to reignite the fire in himself he's tried so hard to put out over the years. Relics of his past come back to haunt him. Adversaries begin to recognize him from the tales of old. And halfway through the game, well, never mind. I won't do that to you. One of my favorite parts of the game that I don't feel like I've seen anybody comment on is the sheer restraint the writers showed throughout the entire run. We're consistently hearing about Thor and Odin and all of these recognizable places and stories, and we barely scratch the surface of what's to come. Thor never shows up. Odin never shows up. The table is so perfectly set for an entire brand new trilogy that I cannot wait to experience in full. I'm sorry if you feel like Red Dead Redemption 2 in the #1 slot was predictable, but take a second to think about this. Maybe everybody is giving it all of these accolades because it's honestly that damn good. I'm not going to tell you the plot of Red Dead Redemption 2 or talk about the Wild West at all. I'm going to come to you from a totally different angle than everybody else, and that's from this perspective. I fucking hated this game at first. Red Dead Redemption 1, to me, is a true classic. I spent hundreds of hours in that game and even earned the Platinum Trophy. Red Dead 2 did not feel like that for me at the start. I could not get over how heavy my character felt. I could not make peace with how he seemed to just mosey along and meander everywhere he went on foot. I hated that I wasn't allowed to run when I was in my camp. I was annoyed that I had to hold down 2 to 3 buttons at a time just to do something as simple as speak to somebody or sell an animal pelt. I even tweeted about it, venting my frustration in an attempt to blow off some steam. All of these things were adding up. I had a friend who felt the exact same way, but he and I went in different directions. He quit. He gave up. He'd had enough. I, on the other hand, kept going. I told a coworker, man, I'm trying really hard to like it because I know there's a fantastic game in here somewhere. And guess what? I found it. I found it next to a river when I bumped into some crazed lunatic shouting at no one in particular about the men who were coming to get him. I found it at a saloon when my character got shit-faced with a friend to the point that everyone in the bar started to look like my friend, and it was up to me to find out which one of them was actually Lenny. I found it in violence when my jaw hit the floor as I took down my first enemy with a shotgun and his head literally exploded. Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't a blink of an eye game. I don't think you can really know what to think of it from the first few minutes. I know I had to dig. If you told me in 2017 that I'd have a blast playing blackjack inside of a video game set in the Wild West, I'd have said you were crazy. If you told me I'd set aside my character's guns for hours at a time because I found a lake or a river that just had to be fished, I would have called you a certified loon. The story is exceptional as well, and Arthur Morgan as a character is so endearing and likable that you simply can't help but root for him, even through his dark times, but I don't want to tell you all the same stories everyone else has. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the epitome of a living, breathing world, and yes, I know exactly how overused that phrase is in games coverage. But Red Dead Redemption 2 is an absolute game changer, and Rockstar once again has proved they are head and shoulders above the rest. There it is, that's my list of top 10 games for 2018, Dan Dans. I hope you enjoyed it. I wonder how many of you have a list that looks very similar to mine. Maybe it's way off, I don't know, why don't you share with me in the comments? Don't forget you can listen to my weekly show, the 616 Entertainment Podcast, on iTunes and SoundCloud. It's always off the rails, but I think you'll have a good time and you'll definitely laugh a lot. Until the next video, I love you and I'll see you next time.